Some beautiful faces, and the gathering here, we have about 80% female, and we want to say thank you to the men that have decided to join ties with the women in Africa. Welcome to Inaugural Nalafem Summit 2022, right here at the Sheraton in Nigeria. Can we put our hands together? Thank you so much. Yes, I would first of all like to let you know who is standing here before you. My name is Ijeoma Osamor. I know that those of us living in Nigeria, the name is not strange. This is the Ijeoma that you see on TV, wrestling with those politicians every evening on Africa Independent Television, AIT. 7 p.m. every day. That's the person you are seeing live here. I'm not a big person. A lot of people will say, you look fat on screen. This is just me. Thank you so much and welcome. I appreciate you for coming to join our sister from Tunisia. She's a wonderful person. I've met her. I didn't meet her here in Nigeria. When I met her, I fell in love with her. When she comes up here to speak, you will know why I had to fall in love with the organizer of this event. I know before you go, the love medicine will also trap you. So let's, at this moment, without wasting time, let me introduce Miss Chebbi. She is the founder of Nala Feminist Collective. Can you put your hands together for her? Let her come here and declare this program open. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now you know why I waited her in Kigali to finish the event, so I can tell her, you have to MC this event too. It's an honor to have you all here. Welcome to the inaugural Nalafem Summit. Thank you to our host, Honorable Dame Pauline Talon, Minister of Women Affairs of Nigeria. Can we really appreciate her? We had, I think, around 400 registration, but we had a room only for 100 people, so that was really impressive, from 10 states in Nigeria. And we have with us here participants from 15 countries, 20 speakers for only an afternoon, so imagine what we can do if we have more resources, more days, and more support. I believe the only way to fight injustice is to act. And I am at a time where I am tired of seeing the seats of power taken by corrupt, self-serving politicians, when women are capable of leading nations. I am tired of seeing money going to imported ideas with little to no impact when girls have the solutions in the communities. So I started mobilizing my sisters, incredible women who are the youngest women ministers like Emma of Namibia, the boldest voices like Jaha of the Gambia, the most dedicated public servants like Rose of Kenya, the most badass feminists like Rosabel of Uganda, the trailblazers like Natasha of Zambia, and the mover and shakers like Oluwacho of Nigeria. And other women leaders not here with us today who constitute the Nala Council. Nala is the lioness. Nala in Kiswahili is the gift that these 17 women embodies every day when they serve and lead. We came together because we can't keep watching the struggle for power, the self-interest and self-serving decisions when it's not fair for our generation. We recognize our power as women to bring about healing and mend the broken spaces of our words. As Nala, together we have a platform, we have influence, we have following, we have a strong political voice. Together we can shake things up in the corridors of power. We are not an NGO because we need collectives. We need to support building collectives, building coalitions, movements, networks. And I'm glad to see the support from the Ford Foundation. I'm glad to see Dr. Diallo leading the Diaspora Network. I'm glad to see people in the room from NDI, from Action Aid, from the Embassy, of Romania, from the Embassy of France, Elimunu Foundation, and others, support feminist collectives. It's not about issue-based funding. It's about building power. Because you need to ask yourself, are you supporting feminists as a means to an end, or are you supporting them as an end in itself? Are you willing to fund those of us who are organizing in unconventional ways, speaking truth to power and challenging the status quo? Support collectives at the intersection of activism and politics, because civil society shouldn't do the job of the government, and the government cannot do their job without civil society. We have to work together, is not a dichotomy. Support collectives because we've become very divided and very competitive that we forgot how to work together. How to put aside our titles, our institutional hats, our organizational logos and egos, and actually focus solely on the task at hand, African women and girls' liberation. Violence-free, stigma-free, financially free, bullshit-free words. That's the task for today. I don't want to mention UN and AU numbers, and I'm glad to see UN Women, UNFPA join us. Very honored to have Ambassador Fatima Mohammed with us from the AU. But we all know the numbers, right? Because it's your sister. It's your mother. It's your neighbor. We know it. We see it. As young women, we live it every single day. I hope today we will discuss with honesty issues of emotional violence that often go underplayed. Issues of violence, of hostile environments in politics and in elections when women run for office. Issues of structural violence that is patriarchal, misogynist, capitalist, colonial. The violence is mental, economic, sexual, and the list goes on. And it's all used as a weapon to keep women trapped in inequality. Today, we must call for dignity. Ending sexual gender-based violence is a question of dignity. But where is the dignity when it's okay for girls to be killed going to school, to be kidnapped from school, to drop out of school because of their periods? Where is dignity when it's okay to cut the clitoris, it's okay to marry at 9 years old, it's okay to get stigmatized living with HIV/AIDS, and when young women don't buy guns or sell guns, but they're the victims of landlords and warlords? It's always about being a girl, not a human. Ending SGBV is also a question of leadership. Today, we need intergenerational co-leadership. In our manifesto, Demand 10, we demand for leadership and co-leadership. But does it make sense that over half of the continent is women and we have only 2 female presidents? Does it make sense that the average age of Nigeria's population is 18, and yet the average age of Nigeria leadership and Nigeria ministers is 61? Does it make sense that we live in an equal world? It does not. Too often, we talk of young women leadership as something separate from mainstream leadership. We can lead in civil society, we can be entrepreneurs, we can organize in the streets, but not political decision-making. That is very exclusive to an elite of a defined age and gender. I called for many years for intergenerational dialogues. I actually organized 100 of them. But today I realize it's not enough. It's not enough because if my sister at 33 years runs for office and no elder we had dialogue with is willing to put money behind her campaign, so what's the intergenerational dialogue for? As young women, if I can't be protected, if I can't be supported, if I can't get intergenerational funding, then what's the intergenerational dialogue for? I do hope we address these questions because we need co-leadership. And I hope we get out of this summit with calls to action to be included in Nalafem Abuja Declaration. Guests, Nala Feminist Collective was launched today, last year, 1st of July 2021, at the Generation Equality Forum in Paris. And I'm really glad to see the first counselor at the French Embassy with us. And today we celebrate 1 year. But Nala actually didn't start in 1 year. It's the work of organizing and mobilization as millennials for years. From Africa Youth Movement Forum in Nairobi, to the first African Summit on FGM and child marriage in Dakar, to the Women of Diaspora Summit, to the East and Southern African Chief Justice Forum, it's all connected to arrive to this moment. Nala might seem like an endeavor of 1 year, but it's actually the natural outcome of a decade of young, feminist, bold activism and diplomacy. So I want to welcome you again. Today's theme is I Am Nala, which is also the title of our book, and we launched our book this morning. I Am Nala is about coming together, taking a stand in solidarity with young Nigerian feminists to criminalize SGBV, sexual and gender-based violence, to pass gender affirmative action bills. I am Nala because I am standing for our right to occupy leadership positions we deserve. I am Nala because I'm the daughter of African women warriors and thinkers and governors and queens, and I accept no less than to be one. So welcome to Nala. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you see why I said you fall in love with her when you listen to her. She is just reading from her book. If you give her just 1 hour, I don't know what will happen. Because I want to tell you that she almost stole the show when we went for the African Women conference in Kigali. And at the end of the day, I'm sure she got so many people to say, please sign this for me. Aya, thank you so much. Well, thank you for this wonderful occasion. And like she has said, we need to protect the girl child. It's important. We need to find our ways to power, no matter what it is. I know that our culture don't permit certain things. Our religion forbids women to become leaders. But 2 women are making a difference in Africa. We have had women president before, and we still will have one. So it's time for us to go straight to the Goodwin messages because we don't play with time. We need to keep to time. And I'd like to, first of all, call to the podium the first person that will be speaking today after the opening of the ceremony. Let me call the regional director of Ford Foundation West Africa, Catherine Chinedum Aniagulu Okoye from Nigeria. Can you please come to the stand and let's have your Goodwin message if you're here. Please put your hands together for her. Madam Chichi, are you around? Okay, let's go again to invite to the stand the first Chancellor, French Embassy in Nigeria, Mr. Olivier. See, I do not want to murder your name. Come up. Yes, you Châtelet. Thank you so much. Welcome. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you, everyone. Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for welcoming this session. I will start to say that, unfortunately, my ambassador happens to be a woman, but posted 6 months ago in Abuja is not here. She's in Lagos. She had to participate to an important event, so she asked me to represent. She really wanted to be here, but on her behalf, I will try to deliver a good speech. So I'm delighted to be here and to greet on this occasion the Nalafem Summit. And I would like to start by thanking the Nalafem team as well as the Federal Ministry of Gender Affairs who made this summit possible in Abuja. The summit provides a useful opportunity to reinforce the fact that everyone has a role to play in forging a more gender-balanced world. Today, women and girls are often more affected by poverty, we know that, conflict and climate change than men. they are facing difficulties and discrimination in every field and every country. The situation got even worse with the COVID time during the last 2.5 years, because we had reports in the UN, but also the embassies, that in many countries there was a rising curve of violence against women. It's more than time, as my colleague from Tunisia said, to consider women as well as men to be actors for sustainable development and to correct functioning of society. Gender equality is a top priority for the French government, which commits throughout its feminist foreign policy. And that's why France is the country which co-chaired last year with Mexico the Generation Equality Forum, exactly a year ago in Paris, where the Nala Feminist Collective was launched with the participation of President Macron. I take this opportunity to acknowledge the impressive work Nalafem is doing since then with the mobilization of young women from Africa and the diaspora. During this forum in June 2021, head of state and government, leaders of international organizations, as well as representatives of civil society, youth and the private sector gathered to make historic commitments to advance gender equality in a sustainable way. 6 coalitions of action were launched, and France became one of the champion states of the right to control one's own body, sexual and reproductive rights and health coalition of action. So I'm just telling you that my country, France, and many European countries also, I speak on behalf of them, are really trying to promote gender equality. But it doesn't mean, and then I go far from my notes, it doesn't mean that in my country, in the Western state, everything is perfect. Everybody read the news in Europe these last weeks, and we know that, for example, because I was approached by someone out who said, "Are you French? Oh, no, so you're going to this meeting, but let me tell you something." And he told me that in my government now, you have 2 persons accused, 2 ministers accused by women who are going to justice of sexual attacks. So maybe they will be removed from the government. But to say that it's not only a Nigerian and African problem, it concerns us in Europe also, because we have to face the reality that we're trying to promote a cause where sometimes we're not also completely clean on this subject, even at the high level. So it's just to recognize and to acknowledge this. It's an international question, and we have to work all hand with hand together on this. In Nigeria also you have a lot of effort. Africa has a lot of effort, but there was the election recently, and everybody saw that there was only 2 or 3 women who were trying to candidate for the presidency next year out of, 18 political parties, and I think it was almost 200 people who present candidacy and only 3 women. You have 0 governor, and I think in the MP it's 6%, 6 or 7% on the chamber. And it's possible to do more, because you look the example of Kenya or Rwanda, I think they are reaching the 50-50 between men and women. So, and they went far, on the level of percentage, like here. So everything is possible, and we hope that, everybody is hoping that the situation will change here, as well as in Europe and in many countries. So the French embassy, just going back to the reality of what we're doing, the French embassy on its part is supporting projects every year. This year we're financing 5 projects, for each project is $100,000, I think, to help these gender-based violence and gender-based stereotype across several states of Nigeria. So we're trying to continue. Thank you very much for meeting here today. I hope that this summit will be a big success, and I wish you fruitful discussion to address the issues of women's rights and gender equality. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olivier, for that short one. Now let's also call on another person that will be giving us a goodwill message, Ms. Beatrice Eyong from Cameroon. Ms. Beatrice is with the UN Women representative to Nigeria. Miss Beatrice too. Is she here? Oh, thank you so much.
Excellencies, distinguished members of the Nala Feminist Collective Council, distinguished guests, please permit me to stand on the already established protocol. It's my honor and privilege to join you as we commemorate the first anniversary of the Nala Feminist Collective. Let me begin by extending, on behalf of UN Women, heartfelt congratulations on this important milestone, which speaks directly to the Global Acceleration Plan for Gender Equality, launched at the historic Generation Equality Fora, convened by the governments of Mexico and Paris alongside UN Women. This framework builds on the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action and outlines the work that must be done to advance efforts on gender equality. Nigeria is, of course, one of the commitment makers. Nigeria made a commitment to promote gender equality, especially from the standpoint of action coalitions that came from the Generation Equality Forum. Nigeria is an important country to this continent, and we believe that if Nigeria really develops in a sustainable manner, it is going to have effects on all of Africa. And Nigeria has produced some of the most powerful women on the continent. The number 2 of the UN is a Nigerian. The number 1 of World Trade Organization is a woman. So UN Women is very, very much engaged, committed to make sure we push the needle for gender equality and women's empowerment. Not only UN Women, the whole of UN system, and with our partners. I can see that France is there. I think maybe I don't identify other partners, but with the government, civil society organizations, and I think this intergenerational dialogue is very, very, very important. Because truly, UN Women itself has realized in many countries, when you go there, you will see the women you saw some 20 years ago. You will still see the same old women who were there some 30 years ago. You will still see the same women doing the same things and expecting a different result. So I'm so happy to be standing here talking to very young women who are engaged. And this gives us hope that there is hope for Africa. There is hope for gender equality and women's empowerment. What we couldn't do, we believe you people are going to do. Where we could not reach, we believe that you people are going to reach. But one thing I want to assure all of you is that UN Women is there, and we will do everything in our power to support your activities and whatsoever you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, UN Women. Yes, they've been doing a lot here in Africa, and I want to say thank you so much for all you're doing for African women. You see, it's beautiful when you talk, but what we want to see is action. Just like my friend Aya will say, we've been talking. How do we make it work? The women need to show action this time, and also talk to the men to create an enabling environment for young African women to begin to be empowered. Okay, so let's quickly call, I initially called her, but she wasn't here, but she's back. Yes, I have the Regional Director, Ford Foundation West Africa, Mrs. Katrina Chinedum Chichi Aniogulum Okoye. She is a Nigerian. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's a lot of names. Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for being late. I was actually here earlier, and I had to go where my driver had to pray, and I apologize. I am Nala because I believe in the power of us. I believe that the only way we can make progress is when we come together and we work together. There is no house that is built with one block. It is only when we have several blocks and several people working on that house that it becomes a building. I am Nala because the freedom that I want, my Amandla, is my Ubuntu. Because it is only when we are together that we can have the type of life that we want, the education for our children, the health care, the life that we dream, that many of us crossed the deserts to try to get. I am Nala because the future is female. I'm really proud of what's happening here today, because even the fact that African women are identifying with the word feminism is a major progress, because we always had a problem with that word. You'll always see women say, I am not a feminist, but. And so I'm glad that people are no longer afraid to say that I am a feminist, because being a feminist does not mean that you're anti-male or anti-anything. On the contrary, it means that you embody all that it means to grow as one. It means that you are allowed to be you, and you allow others to be them, and that it is in our giving each other freedom that we create the society in which we want. The Ford Foundation is really proud of what's happening here today. We have done our little bit, and we will continue to do what it is that we need to do to ensure that the women's movement, that the African women's movement, that the West African women's movement will continue to see the light of day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Chichi, and thanks to Ford Foundation for standing with Nala. I am Nala too. I don't know about you. I'm sure the men will be called Nala today. Because, yes, we don't need to just keep ourselves behind. We need to come out as women. We need to, you're not saying I am equal to the men. You're not saying that, but you're saying I can do what the man can do if you give me the opportunity to do that. And in this part of the world, you don't wait for opportunity because the space is congested already. The men are not even allowing you. So the best thing to do is to stand up for what you believe. So it's time for us to also listen to some persons. I will be playing you their videos, one after the other. But let's begin with the first video. The video is that of His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi of Nigeria. Can we see the former CBN governor?
It is a great honor for me to be invited to give a few remarks during this important conference on the subject of sexual and gender-based violence. This is a matter of great concern to all of us in Africa, and it is really a matter of great concern to all leaders all over the world. Societies have woken up to the need to protect their women and their girls. These are the weaker members of society, usually vulnerable, usually under the control of men. And sexual and gender-based violence has been intensified by certain cultural attitudes and practices. In dealing with gender-based violence, we have to remember that in Nigeria it's taken on alarming proportions. We cannot forget so soon the rape and murder of Osamor in a church in Benin, of Barakat Bello, of a lady of grace in Ibadan. And in the middle of all of this, we cannot forget that only 16 states in Nigeria have domesticated the Violence Against Persons Act. Out of the 19 states of the North, only Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, and Bauchi have domesticated this act. Men need to understand the importance of taking care of women. Men need to understand the importance of gender equality, the dangers of male privilege, and the idea of male domination in the homes. Treating women as second-class citizens and as somehow inferior to men opens the path to their maltreatment, to rape, to domestic violence, to beating, and to all sorts of psychological trauma. It is my hope that through this conference and through these discussions and conversations, you'll come up not just with ideas for how to address this problem, but form a strong voice in civil society that will fight for the rights of women and the protection of girls. I do hope that the governments, the law enforcement agencies, religious and traditional rulers will add their voice to this problem. And we should also encourage the victims of violence to speak and provide safe spaces where they can be protected. We should provide aftercare, funding for these persons, for their education, for their psychological care, and ensure that they are protected from further abuse. Our society will not progress until we begin to treat our women differently, and we need to set the pace and lead as a country on this path. Obviously, the matter has been made worse by internally displaced persons, by war and violence. We've seen in the north attacks on homes, the rape of women and girls, the kidnapping of children. These are all symptoms of a society that is degenerated and a state that has failed. We pray to God to come to the help of our country and to heal our land. And we urge everyone to rise up to this task, to speak up, to fight against it, and to do whatever we can to put an end to sexual and gender-based violence. I wish you a successful conference, and again, I express my regrets for not being there in person and not being able to be with you, but I do hope that you will have a successful conference, and I look forward to reading the results and the reports and the communique of this meeting. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for that, and let's move on. It's good to know that even our royal fathers and the men are also standing behind the women, and that's what it's supposed to be from the day of creation. So you stand and encourage them. So let's go to the next video. This next video is coming from the Executive Director, UNFPA, from Panama, Dr. Natalia Cannon.
And I am the United.
But I do hope.
All right. All right, let me just call the names, and then they continue playing the videos. We also have the video message from Mrs. Ijeoma from Sri Lanka. The name is quite long. Wikamanyanke. She is the United Nations Youth Envoy. We also have Mrs. Auna Ezeakwa from Nigeria, the Assistant Administrator and Director of the Regional Bureau for Africa, UNDP. These are the videos that we have. So let's see them.
Everyone, my name is Ijeoma and I am the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Youth. It is my great pleasure to be part of the inaugural Nalafem Summit and to share the stage with so many skilled friends and colleagues from across the continent. First, I want to thank the Nala Council for the invitation, and I congratulate you on the first year of fostering, enabling, and mobilizing women and girls from Africa and the diaspora for the full realization of their human rights. Women constitute about half of the global population. But to achieve a gender-equal future, we must recognize that this number does not represent a homogeneous mass of people. It matters a great deal where we come from. We know that women and girls in humanitarian and crisis-affected contexts face increased violence, risks, and barriers to access basic services such as healthcare and education, as well as a lack of opportunities for political participation. On top of all this, the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated these challenges, and that disproportionately faced by adolescents and young women. Let there be no doubt that to me and to the United Nations, achieving gender equality is a non-negotiable objective. The Secretary General's report on our common agenda has set out a vision for the future of the multilateral system and global decision-making in which women and girls are at the center of commitments. And there is a specific recommendation to elevate young women's voices at all UN processes. As we strive to be more inclusive and equal, we must implement actions that push beyond tokenism and towards young feminist leadership and strengthened intergenerational collaboration. With that, let me wish you a successful summit, which I am sure will contribute to further strengthening African feminist thinking and doing. I look forward to working together in support of co-leadership, co-ownership, and co-creation as the pathways for granting decision-making agenda and setting power to young women and girls in Africa and all over the world. Thank you.
Good day to all of you. My name is Anne Gifukushongwe, and I am the Regional Director for UNAIDS East and Southern African Support Team. I'm delighted to join you for the inaugural Nalafem Summit. I am Nala. Congratulations to you, Aya Chebbi. As the chair of the Nala Feminist Collective, as a former African Union envoy on youth, congratulations. And to all the 17 other young women leaders who are involved in bringing us together today. The Nala Feminist Collective is a beacon of light. I am so excited to lend my support to your mission. As a feminist collective for peace, for gender, for social justice for all, you hold the power together to make meaningful change happen. From our experience at UNAIDS, the joint United Nations program leading the AIDS response, I can tell you that it is gender-based discrimination and violence that continue to drive HIV among women. HIV is entirely preventable, and yet every week, 4,200 adolescent girls and young women between 15 and 24 years old are infected with HIV in sub-Saharan Africa. This is a massive injustice and totally unacceptable. I am thrilled that the Nala Feminist Collective has joined us as an official partner of the Education Plus initiative that UNAIDS is co-leading with UNICEF, with UNESCO, with UNFPA, and with UN Women for the empowerment of adolescent girls and young women across the continent and for the prevention of HIV. Nala, you will no doubt carry the demands of young women from across the continent high and loud to decision makers and in your communities. Take the African Women's Beijing Plus 25 manifesto to the halls of power, to parliaments, to your peers, to your networks, to women and girls, to men and boys from all walks of life. I know you will not cease until those demands are met. I know you will be fierce and fearless in standing up to injustice, in claiming our rights to the autonomy over our bodies, to the free exercise of our sexual and reproductive health and rights, to freedom from gender-based violence, to transformative quality education for all girls and boys, in standing firm for economic justice in our continent and for women's equal political voice, participation, and power. No country can claim to be a democracy without achieving gender equality, without the full inclusive participation of women in decision-making in all our diversity. Nala, I salute you, I celebrate you, I join you. Count on me. I am Nala. Thank you.
Africa's vibrant and dynamic youth, esteemed participants, it is an absolute pleasure to join such a great group of women and men who are passionate about creating a more equal and fair world. You are putting a premium on women taking center stage on important matters at the heart of our humanity. Thank you, Nala Feminist Collective, for fostering, enabling, and mobilizing for change. This is precisely the type of action needed to combat the multiple crises that our world faces today. Dear Chebbi, I'd like to thank you for your strength, your courage, and your confidence. I am very proud of you. Today we speak of gender equality as an accepted truth, but we are far from where we want to be and where we ought to be. The COVID-19 pandemic has set back important development gains. It has unleashed what UN Women has described as a gender-based violence pandemic. Women have been strongly impacted by the war in Ukraine, and many are having to turn to negative coping mechanisms that we thought we had overcome. In the meantime, the climate emergency continues to hold women in its shadow. All of these crises show us that to empower women sustainably, we need systemic solutions grounded in legal regimes, nurtured as smart development policy, and focused on facilitating enablers like financing to ensure that women's ventures can thrive. Finally, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of securing space for women, for more women at levels of decision making, but also in legislative processes, in boardrooms, and in other engagements. We need inclusive feminist leadership. Let me close off by saying that today I am Nala because I believe in the bold generation of young African women who are set to transform this alien world for good. It is time for women in Africa to beat their own drum. The days of dancing to the beats that are perpetuating gender inequality are gone. So let's do this.
My dear friends, I am excited to help launch this inaugural summit on Nalafem's first anniversary. Nalafem is about the power of young women as agents of change. We are all Nala today. I am Nala because I believe in amplifying the voices of young feminist leaders in Africa fighting for sexual and reproductive rights and full gender equality. I am Nala because I stand in solidarity with them as we rise up against gender-based violence, female genital mutilation, and child marriage. I am Nala because I believe young women leaders can inspire social change, expose patriarchal systems, and break the generational cycle of poverty. And I am Nala because I lead an organization, UNFPA, that works day and night to advance sexual and reproductive health, rights, and justice. Across Africa, I have seen the power of young feminists disrupting the status quo. From climate justice and Black Lives Matter to the Shut It Down movement to end gender-based violence, it's young African women who are out demanding the full realization of their rights. Strong social movements are critical to advancing the feminist agenda and countering the global pushback on women's rights. That's why UNFPA joined forces with young leaders to establish a global youth consortium supporting young African feminists organizing to end FGM. We also launched the Youth Innovation Incubator, an initiative that supports young women innovators. UNFPA has also helped mount a feminist response to the COVID-19 pandemic by investing directly in grassroots feminist organizations that support their communities. Young feminists and women-led organizations are the heartbeat of UNFPA's work throughout Africa. Your relentless efforts to advance gender equality are critical to realizing the aspirations of the ICPD Program of Action and the Generation Equality Action Coalitions, including the one on bodily autonomy. UNFPA is proud to stand in solidarity with you. Dear friends, we all have the power and courage within us to make a difference. Together, let us support the collective aspirations of women and girls across Africa and the diaspora, and step up for the rights, choice, dignity, and agency we demand and we deserve. Adelante, a luta continua.
Dear Aya, dear ladies and gentlemen, women's rights are human rights was a signature quote from Hillary Clinton and was a clarion call to address female rights. The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW conference in Beijing in 1995 was indeed a landmark conference. Now that CEDAW is over 25 years old, it would be good as African women to go down memory lane and take stock of progress and ask ourselves to what extent the promised reform have been implemented. We must also examine why progress has been limited in many countries, and we need to seek ways to overcome the obstacles. Poverty, ladies and gentlemen, still has a woman's face because women generally feel that the instrument their respective government have signed have failed to be translated into positive changes in their daily lives. More often than not, men are more likely to find a job and enterprises run by men, and they have easy access to support from institutions such as banks. Perhaps the most inhibiting factor in that women in Africa continue to be denied an education, often the only ticket out of poverty. Yet it is clear that women in parliament have made a difference in the adoption of gender-sensitive policies. The quota system is more than needed if legislation like legalization of abortion, countering domestic violence, family law, and ensuring child support are to be voted in. Countries must put in place basic strategies to lift women out of poverty and to halt the spread of diseases. Ladies and gentlemen, empowerment of women, she says, should not be confined to a narrow range of sectors within countries, but should also ensure the equal participation of women in fast-moving global processes, because equality is still not a reality. I thank you for your attention.
Very happy at the request of your chair, Aya Chebbi, to send a warm goodwill message to Nala Feminist Collective, Nalafem, for your inaugural Nalafem Summit on the 1st of July in Abuja, Nigeria. I know many of you participated actively in the Generation Equality Forum, and I wish you well with your B+25 manifesto. We need young women to be strong and to be collective and to be feminist. We have many issues to address, including the climate crisis, the COVID crisis, and the food and fuel crisis, which is hitting African countries particularly hard. So young women need to be strong and to give leadership. I'm entirely supportive myself of a movement of women leaders and young people, which has to have what I call a moonshot mentality, an urgent mentality, because we know the window is closing on being able to reduce emissions by 45% by 2030, so that we can have a safe future for people and planet. It's not necessarily the responsibility of African countries or African young women leaders, but we need your voice to help us to make sure that this happens. So I am Nala because I believe in the power of young women leaders.
at this time of the week, let's can you just give us soft tune so we can move to the next item here? And that one is taking a Goodwin message from Amina Muhammad. It's going to be a written Goodwin message that will be read here. And after that, we'll go straight to the opening, the official opening of I Am Nala, the Nala First Inaugural Summit here in Nigeria. But how many of us can proudly say I am Nala amongst the young women? Very good. I want to see if you can say I am Nala. Can I see your hands up? Let's see where we are going to from this conference. Thank you, thank you. I can see that the young women are already raising their hands. But the men, how many of you can say I am Nala assistant? Can we see them? Please. This side of the hall is not responding at this time. Anyway, I am Nala because I stand for what is right. I am Nala because we need to make the young woman believe in herself. I am Nala because I am not an instrument for every man's bed. I am Nala because you cannot force me against my will. I am Nala because I want to make progress in my little environment. Are you Nala? Okay, please, we need to define what we want to achieve. And if you define it and you know where you are going to, that will help the journey. So all of us are Nala because we stand for the girl child. I don't know if they have the written goodwill message from Amina Muhammad, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. If we have it, let's quickly get to see it. You see, I have issues with my eyes, so we need to make it bold. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, let me just quickly read, though I didn't rehearse it, so you pardon me if there's any mistake. I'll start by saying, Ms. Amina Muhammad, the Deputy Secretary General, message to the Inaugural Nalafem Summit, Abuja, July 1, 2022. I send my sincere congratulations to all involved in the Nala Feminist Collective on your 1-year anniversary. Emerging from the Generation Equality Forum, this collective is the culmination of decades of action and partnership towards gender equality led by committed activists and feminist leaders. Generations of African women have been a force driving change across the continent, brokering peace, you broker peace, during conflict, defending the civil rights of citizens, and taking a forceful stance on violence against women and girls. The gains you have made are a powerful example of what can be achieved when women lead. Our world faces great challenges, from the rise of populism, the escalating climate emergency, and growing inequalities, to mounting restrictions on marginalized groups, including women and girls, people with disability, and indigenous communities. To meet these challenges head on, the inclusion of women's voice at decision-making on the continent at most be the norm. It should be the norm. And yes, it should be the norm and not the exception. This is critical to realizing the African Union's Agenda 2063 and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. 1 year after the Generation Equality Forum, this summit provides an opportunity to hold government accountable to their commitment made in Mexico and Paris. Together, we must reflect on progress towards the clear demands outlined in the Africa Young Women B+25 and Manifesto, and continue to identify strategies to accelerate this agenda. This will require sustained intergenerational, cross-cultural collaboration and membership, the basis of the generation equality movement. It will require continued engagement with progressive and committed male allies who are male allies, I beg your pardon, male allies who are willing to stand in solidarity with our movement. Finally, it will require every single delegate in their own sphere of influence, from members of local collectives to young women diplomats and government officials, to continue raising their own voices to advance the cause of African women and girls. I am confident that this inaugural Nalafem Summit will be instrumental in paving the path for sustainable development in Africa. I wish you every success. Thank you. Can we put our hands together for that? Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, we'll quickly go to the next. We're supposed to be here at this time because the time is almost gone. We're a little bit 30 to 20 minutes behind schedule. But let's quickly go to opening ceremony, the official opening ceremony of this event. And it will be done by the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development. Someone, I think someone is representing her here. Honorable Pauline Tallinn is the Minister of Women Affairs here in Nigeria, and she's been represented. She will need to give us her name or she come here to tell us more. So she's declaring the event open officially.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Princess Ijeoma Idonije, Senior Special Assistant Technical to the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, who would have loved to be here, but for some very challenging reasons, she's unable to join us, but she brings her warm greetings to you. And so I'll just read her speech. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, where this inaugural summit is holding. I hope that you have been able to appreciate the beauty, hospitality, and serenity of this city. It is always a thing of joy to associate with young women who daily struggle to be heard and whose voices have been drowned in the confusion of cultural and traditional practices reinforced by patriarchy. So many who would have had a chance to sit at decision-making tables, or like you and I in this place today, have been silenced forever for reason of being born a girl child. Please join me as we rise to observe a 1-minute silence in honor of all these young people who did not have a chance to stand here today. We remember them today and we pray that their souls rest in peace. Amen. Please be seated. I am therefore delighted to be part of this epoch-making inaugural Nalafem Summit, a first-of-its-kind summit led by young women leaders from Africa and diaspora under a common phrase, I am Nala. The word Nala here speaks to women's success, royalty, and grandeur in the face of so many barriers which women and girls have to rise above. The uniqueness of this forum is that it helps to consolidate on the current drive to mainstream young female voices in national development, with the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs driving the change we all desire. I am therefore Nala because as the Minister of Women Affairs, I take actions to promote civic, political, social, and economic participation of women in all spheres of national development. I am Nala because it is important to listen to young women's aspirations for a better tomorrow, demanding their rightful place in society, which are well articulated in the African Young Women Beijing Plus 25 Manifesto, especially demand number 2 on criminalizing gender-based violence and demand number 10 on intergenerational co-leadership. I am Nala because I stand with all Nigerian women and young girls, and African women and young girls. As a Nigerian woman and mother, I am Nala because I serve every day to advance gender equality, and as a women leader, I say, I am Nala. This event comes on the heels of several ongoing campaigns to address human rights, women and young girls' political participation, and sexual and gender-based violence, which assumed an alarming proportion in the country. Especially with the advent of COVID-19 pandemic. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, we are witnessing uncommon political will to address the issues. At the federal level, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, has displayed such rare commitment by bringing the issues of gender-based violence to national limelight. This has placed us on the international map as a responsive country. As a national machinery for the advancement, welfare, and general well-being of women, children, and other vulnerable groups, including the girl child, the ministry is currently addressing administrative and policy gaps, strengthening institutional capacity, promoting gender equitable attitudes, and providing quality services to survivors and ensuring social justice for victims of violence and their families. These have resulted in visibility on the gender equality commitments of Nigeria and on ending sexual and gender-based violence in the country, creating an enabling policy, legal, and resource environment for the elimination of gender-based violence against women and girls in all their diversity, adapting and scaling up evidence-driven prevention programming for the elimination of gender-based violence, scaling up comprehensive, accessible, and quality services for survivors of gender-based violence. Autonomous girl-led women's rights organizations are enabled and empowered to exercise their expertise in addressing gender-based violence. Some of the specific milestones include the inauguration of an interministerial gender-based violence management committee to provide a synchronized approach to address all forms of violence against women and children in the country, and the directives to the Inspector General of Police to deal with all perpetrators in furtherance of the declaration of zero tolerance to rape and other gender-based violence as an outcome of my council memo on the unacceptable trends and patterns and surge in rape and other gender-based violence in the country, which I presented in June 2020. In addition, Mr. President further added his voice in solidarity to say no to violence against women and children during the UN-EU Town Hall Dialogue on Gender-Based Violence in Nigeria in August 2020. At the state level, the governors have unanimously risen to confront the unacceptable trends and patterns in the incidence of gender-based violence by declaring a state of emergency as an outcome of my participation at their forum. To show that it's no longer business as usual, the spouses of governors have also risen to challenge this by forming a coalition of wives of governors to address the matter. The First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Aisha Buhari, and the wife of the Vice President are also supporting this crusade. I am happy to inform you that we have, with the support of UNDP, launched the National Situation Room and Data Dashboard for ending violence against women and girls as an ardent response to the identified gaps in the availability of real-time gender-based violence data to provide evidence-based planning and monitoring of the issues and concerns of women and children, including the girl child. We have also launched a National Sex Offenders Register to name and shame perpetrators of sexual gender-based violence in the country. The country has, for the first time, provided an enabling environment for young persons to aspire to leadership positions through the signing of the Not Too Young to Run Act. Yes, our parliamentarians rejected the 5 gender bills which Nigerian women had so desired to change the narratives in our national engagement. But it is obvious that women can no longer be silent in the face of injustice, which led to the occupation of the National Assembly by women in reaction to this. I'm happy to see some of our women. Abiola is here, Funke is here, and quite a number of them. They actually sent a signal that it's no longer business as usual. If you say no to women, then you have to think twice. The end result is that the parliamentarians have rescinded this decision on 3 of the bills. We are watching, and the clock is ticking. Just an update to what we heard from the former Emir of Kano, His Highness Sanusi said earlier today in the video. Let me tell you that we have 34 states that have domesticated the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act as against the 16 which he reported. And we have 31 states that have domesticated the Child Rights Act of 2003. All this through advocacy using the he for she approach under my watch. Excellencies, Nalafem Council members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my call to action today as we adopt the Nalafem Abuja Declaration as the outcome of this summit is to say that promoting young women leadership participation require concerted efforts from a broad range of stakeholders, from individuals, community leaders, and the highest political will at the international, national, and state levels, and we must all commit to it. Let me assure you that beyond today, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs will continue to provide the enabling environment for young girls to aspire. In officially declaring the inaugural summit open, let us all commit to say, I am Nala. Thank you for your attention.